Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be completing an exorcism challenge and it is called Annalyn's Infiltration. So I'll get right into it. The description is quite long and for quite a simple task, it is a lot of information, but I will read through it quite quickly. So the instructions are to implement a quest logic for a new RPG game a friend is developing. The game's main character is Annalyn, a brave girl with a fierce and loyal pet dog. Unfortunately, disaster strikes as her best friend was kidnapped while searching for berries in a forest. Annalyn will try to find and free her best friend, optionally taking her dog with her on her quest. After some time spent following her best friend's trail, she finds the camp in which her best friend is imprisoned. It turns out there are two kidnappers, a mighty knight and a cunning archer. Having found the kidnappers, Annalyn considers which of these following actions she can engage in. So there are a list of actions that she can possibly do, and this is essentially what I'm going to be coding out. So there's fast attack, there's spy, there's signal prisoner, and there's free prisoner. I will get into what those are as I complete each one, because there's no point reading through it. I'm just going to forget it eventually. So this exercise wants me to complete 4 different functions. And the reason why I said it's quite simple is because all I need to do is figure out what needs to be true and what needs to be false in order for any of those 4 actions to be able to take place. For example, we're going to start with the first one. So they've given us like a template or boilerplate, and it's just the name of the function, which is can execute fast attack, and it will take in a parameter of night is awake. And so this is the line that I need to remove as I'm going to be completing the function now. So let's get into the rules. So a fast attack can be made if the knight is sleeping, as it takes time for him to get his armor on. So he will be vulnerable. So I need the knight to be sleeping in order for this function to be able to take place. And essentially I need the function to return true. In order to do that, I am going to take this variable and check whether it is true. For example, this is one way that I could do it. So if night is awake, then, sorry, my keyboard. If night is awake, return false. Else return true. So I need the knight to be sleeping, which is why I'm returning false if the knight is awake. This is what, I guess, how one would answer this if they were maybe in the beginning of their coding journey. And it's quite a simple way to kind of make it make sense, and it does work. I'll just quickly test that to see if we got our first. So we got our first pass. However, there is a much simpler way of writing this, and I'm going to go through that now. So essentially, night is awake is going to return a Boolean value. And because it's going to return a Boolean value, I don't actually need to return true or false, because this variable will return true or false. So what I really need to be doing is, for example, if I was to just do return night is awake, this is going to return true or false, but it's not going to tell us whether we can execute fast attack. But we can execute fast attack if the knight is awake, which is opposite to, if the knight is asleep, which is opposite to this variable. And in order to get the opposite, I just need to add an exclamation mark at the beginning. This means if night is awake is true, then I want to return false. Did I say that correctly? So I need this function to return true if night is awake is false. And so this exclamation mark essentially says, please return true if this answer is false. So essentially this whole piece of code is just this. So I can now remove that and see if that also works. Okay, so we're still in action. So we can then move on to the next one, which is can spy. So the instructions for spying is the group can be spied upon if at least one of them is awake. Otherwise, spying is a waste of time. So I just need one of them to be awake. So Knight is awake needs to be true, or Archer is awake needs to be true, or Prisoner is awake needs to be true. And the reason why I emphasize on the or is because we have an operator for that in JavaScript. And so I'm going to start with our return statement, because again, all three of these variables can be, or parameters should I say, but they're also variables, but all of them can return true or false. And I just need to figure out whether it returning true or returning false is what I need to happen. So I'm going to return Knight is awake, because I need Knight is awake to be true, or I need Archer is awake to be true, or I need Prisoner is awake to be true. So I mean that's literally all that there is to that one as well. And we've got that one correct. Okay, so we can move right on to the next one. Can free Prisoner. So we have, hold on, sorry, I completely skipped one out. So we have can signal prisoner. So the instructions for signaling a prisoner is the prisoner can be signaled using bird sounds if the prisoner is awake and the archer is sleeping, as archers are trained in bird signaling, so they could interpret the message. Sorry, the siren is crazy. So I need the prisoner to be awake and I need the archer to be sleeping. So where this differs from the first question is I needed either of the three of them to be awake. It didn't matter who, but it mattered that one of them, at least one of them was. Whereas with this one, in order to signal the prisoner, I need the prisoner to be awake and I need the archer to be sleeping. So again, I'm going to start with a return statement, and I need my prisoner to be awake. So I'm just going to return, is prisoner awake, or prisoner is awake, which if it's true, I need this function to be true. And then I'm going to do two ampersand signs, is that the, how you say the and sign? Anyway, two and signs, which basically just says and Archer is awake. I need Archer to be sleeping, so I need the opposite of Archer is awake. I need that to return false in order for this function to return true. So again, I use my exclamation mark, which means the opposite of what it would usually return, and it would usually return true. So this means I need it to return false, and in order for this to, I guess, be satisfied, then I'm able to signal the prisoner. Again, I'm going to try all that, see if it works. Okay, and we've literally got one more left to go. Can free the prisoner. So this one has actually two separate tasks that we're going to have to, or two separate conditions that we have to satisfy in order to answer this one or complete this function. So I'm just going to remove the code there. So in order to free the prisoner, Annalyn can try sneaking into the camp to free the prisoner. This is risky. This is a risky thing to do and can only succeed in one of two ways. If Annalyn has her pet dog with her, she can rescue the prisoner if the archer is asleep. The knight is scared of the dog and the archer will not have time to get ready before Annalyn and the prisoner can escape. So before we actually move on to the next condition, I'm actually just going to figure out the first one. So I'm actually going to write this the long way out. So if I was, let's say, new to coding and I came across this question, I'd straight off start with an if statement, just because I need to check certain conditions, whether they are true or false, and then I just need to return true or false. So starting with the if statement, Annalyn is able to rescue the prisoner if she has her pet dog with her. So if pet dog is present, so if this is true, and the archer is sleeping, or let me even write that in a longer way. So if archer is awake is equal to false, then, only then, return true. Then I'm going to go with an else if, since there's a second condition. And that second condition is If Annalyn does not have her dog with her, so that's already the first one. So if there's no dog present, is equal to false. And free the prisoner if the prisoner is awake. So the prisoner needs to be awake. And again, if I was really writing this out long, I would put prisoner is awake is equal to true. So actually, let me do that. So equal to true. Just to kind of lay it out and what it would look like without all the shorthands. Prisoner is awake is equal to true. And last but not least, I think, the knight and archer are both sleeping. And the knight is equal to false. And archer is equal to false. Then I also want you to return true. Else, honestly, I feel like I've gone about it in the longest way possible, because I could have written these two statements, since they're returning literally the same thing. They could have been written in one line, but I'm longing it out for a reason. Let's see if this works, because all right, we got there in the end. However, this looks entirely messy, and a lot of it is made redundant because we don't need to equate a Boolean to a Boolean. It's only ever going to return true or false. So I can actually remove these as I added them, and anyone that is equal to false, I'm just going to put an exclamation mark at the beginning, because I want the opposite of true, which is what they would originally return. So this doesn't work because, you know, without the exclamation mark, it means true. With it, it means false. If you defaulted a variable to false and you wanted the opposite and you added the exclamation mark, then it would return true. So the way I like to remember it is adding the exclamation mark just flips what it originally was. So if it started off being true, then it now becomes false. If it started off being false, then it now becomes true. So yeah. Is prisoner awake true? So I want to leave that as is. And these two are false. So I'm going to add an exclamation mark. Lovely. Just, you know, got to check if things work. However, I'm going to use something called a ternary statement, which is just a shorthand for an if statement. And again, I really didn't need to do this else if, because I'm trying to return the same thing. So they all could have gone in one. So how I would start off my if statement, I'll just comment this out. I think commenting works out on this ID. Yes. Okay. So how a ternary statement would work, I'm going to start with a return statement. I'm going to check whether this, I'm just going to copy and paste it actually, is satisfied. I don't even need a ternary statement actually. I'm so sorry guys. That is completely false. Because a ternary statement would mean I need to return something. But because I'm returning Booleans, I don't need to say what I'm returning. For example, if I needed to return a number, I would put a question mark and put 4. Let's say when I satisfy this condition, I need the function to return 4. Otherwise, if it doesn't satisfy that condition, then return, 16, for example. So this is what a ternary statement would look like. However, because again, I'm dealing with Booleans, I don't need to return true or false. So I'm literally just going to return the conditions like I've been doing in all the previous ones, just returning them. The reason why this one seems, I guess, maybe a little bit trickier is because there's just so much more to it. So this is the first one, and then I'm just going to put some and signs and some brackets. And the reason why I'm putting brackets around the first and the second is to make sure that the function, I guess, knows that this is the first condition and both need to be satisfied, or whatever's within the brackets need to be satisfied together, or we have the and. No, sorry, it needs to be or. That's why I said or. Or we don't have the dog present. Don't have the dog present. The prisoner is awake. The knight is not awake, and the archer is not awake. So this all needs to be taken into consideration together also. So now I'm going to try that. I don't know if I've messed up. Let's see. All right, and here we off to rebuttal. So the reason why I wanted to kind of get into this question is because it kind of like allows you to understand true or false and the different operators that need to be used. So here, so Boolean represents one of two values, which is true or false. There are logical operators, so I explained the exclamation mark, the two and signs, and the or sign. So I used all three of these in order to complete this challenge. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Please do let me know if you have any challenges in mind that you'd like me to complete. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.